Hi guys, good to see you all again. We're joined here today by Jonathan from Prestige Holidays, here to talk to us a little bit about Canada, really just to give us a bit of an overview of the country, how it differs, etc., and a few suggested itinerary and his favourite parts as well. So thank you very much for joining us.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome.
So first of all, let's just jump straight in and just tell us a little bit about Canada itself and maybe where you've been, what your favourite parts are.
Yeah. I mean, I guess the main thing with Canada, first of all, is just trying to be aware just of how huge it is.
Yeah.
It's the second largest country in the world. It's a stunning place, a varied place. I guess the main tip I always kind of get across to people initially is try to spend longer there or do less.
Right.
The temptation, the more the areas that you read about and you look about, the images are spectacular. You end up thinking, if we're going to be going there, why don't we do this? And if we're doing that, we should do that.
Yeah.
And it's getting the balance right. These are the brochures that we produce. So I'm from a company called Prestige Holidays. So we were voted Best Operator at the Canada Travel Awards recently.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. And we're all about first-hand knowledge, really.
Yep.
Again, the world's getting a smaller place, but for a lot of customers, the list gets bigger.
Absolutely.
So by working together, we're both independent, so we make sure we give your customers the best impartial, independent advice. So the brochure that we produce has a lot of options and itineraries in there, but a good starting point is always the map. So even though it is a huge country, to give you a couple of ideas of just how huge it is, Quebec as a province has over 1 million lakes and rivers just in that province alone, which is bonkers. Another good example, Vancouver Island, when you look at a map of Canada, looks a small little place that you maybe anticipate spending a couple of days wandering around. It's almost the size of England, so you could spend...
I didn't realise that.
Yeah, it's huge. So you could spend the trip just on Vancouver Island, yeah. So once you kind of get into perspective the size of the place, it starts making you realise the areas that you should focus on.
Absolutely.
So rather than trying to do everything in one trip, break it down into separate trips is the main advice. Even though it's huge, a lot of the central provinces, you've got lots of farmland and prairie land, so you're not going to get too many people heading over there, with the odd exception. And the same further north, you've got some spectacular scenery, but probably apart from Alaska, which is an American state, but adjoined to the Yukon, other than those areas, a lot of it is inaccessible, uninhabited. So realistically, for first-time visitors, the most popular is over on the west. You get to do things like the Rocky Mountaineer Train. You've got picture postcard scenery right on the border between Alberta and British Columbia.
It's definitely on my bucket list.
Yeah, it's absolutely spectacular. The Rocky Mountaineer itself, you'll see the train included in lots of different trips. So we specialise in tailor-making tours, but we've got a good selection of escorted, self-drive, independent as well. And the train is just one of those special experiences.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like you said, top of a lot of people's lists. The train itself is a 2-day train journey that goes from Vancouver to the Rockies, or vice versa. And you've got a night in a hotel, so you're not sleeping aboard the train, which a lot of people often think that you do sleep on board. There is another train that goes right across Canada. That takes 5 days to get between Vancouver and Toronto. Incredible, but you do sleep on board parts of it. Whereas the Rocky Mountaineer is just built so you're not missing the scenery.
And the Rocky Mountaineer is more well known, the more popular one. And obviously, you've got the different classes. So most people would go for the silver leaf or the gold leaf, wouldn't they? What are the differences between between those two classes? I think that's always a talking point for a lot of people.
It is. Yeah, so you've got two options: silver leaf and gold leaf. From the UK market, the vast majority of visitors travelling gold leaf, and the percentage is actually getting higher. Silver leaf itself, again, we've got a little leaflet which can kind of help break it down as well. Silver leaf, it's a really nice level of service. So you've got kind of a partial dome, so they're not normal kind of train windows, that the glass goes round that little bit more. You've got 2 attendants per carriage. The service on board is fantastic. So it's better than any kind of train journey I've been on before.
It's not like any train over here.
No, it's not. It's a little bit of a step up from kind of Leeds to London train. I get quite a lot. So it's really nice. You get breakfast and lunch on board. Dinner's not included.
Right.
You have a night in hotel in a place called Kamloops,
Yeah.
or there's another route, a place called Quesnel. But you get that well fed and watered on board the train. You generally don't need too much on the evening anyway. So Silverleaf is really nice. Goldleaf, the main kind of feature that clients will read about is that you're in the dome car, so you've got glass surrounding you.
Right.
You can see the eagles and the ospreys, so the views are incredible. You're upstairs, so certain parts of the trip, if you're going through certain tree lines or you're next to a freight train, you can see above that a little bit more, which is really good. The main difference, though, from my experience, is that you have a separate dining car downstairs. So rather than having breakfast and lunch at your seat, you go downstairs
Into like a restaurant or
into a restaurant. Yeah, into a restaurant. You've got Michelin trained chefs that are cooking it on board. In Silverleaf, it's pre-prepared, a little bit like an aircraft food, but on a much better scale. Whereas in Goldleaf, it's freshly prepared to order. Okay. You've got a much bigger choice.
I didn't realise they were Michelin trained chefs.
As a dining experience, it's phenomenal.
Wow, okay.
So you've got breakfast and lunch on board, big selection of menus, and then you've got also a separate viewing platform in Goldleaf, so you can get some fresh air, take some pictures. Nice. If you're into photography, fantastic. So the main difference is that in Silverleaf, the views are great, the service is great, but I find myself looking at my watch a little bit when it gets to the afternoon, because you've not really moved. Yeah,
not too much space to move around and actually stretch your legs and have a look at the scenery and stuff.
It's very comfortable, loads of leg room, but you just, you start getting itchy feet. Whereas in Goldleaf, you're upstairs for an hour, you're downstairs for breakfast, back upstairs for a few hours, you're downstairs for lunch. You've got the viewing platform, so you're moving around a lot more. It's more of a social, a bit more of a social experience as well. So, if possible, I'd always recommend to travel in Goldleaf, and you never really speak to anybody who comes back and wishes that they'd maybe stuck to Silverleaf. Right. Okay. It's won countless awards as being, the world's great train journey, and all different kinds of accolades, with good reason. Absolutely. People often think of it as one of those once-in-a-lifetime trips. And if you want to do it, just make sure you kind of do it properly. Having said
it's a long way to go. That western part of Canada is what, 12-hour flight or so?
Yeah, exactly. So to get over to Vancouver, it's a long way. And if you're going to be doing that, do it properly. Often the train sits in the middle of a trip, so you might want to fly to Vancouver.
That was my next question. How does the train fit into an actual itinerary on the BC side of Canada?
Yeah, so often you might want to fly into Vancouver. For me, it's my favourite city in the world. It's spectacular. The location, the setting, the friendliness, the warmth is just outstanding. Bit of time there. You might want to go over to places like Victoria, which is on the southern tip of Vancouver Island, do some whale watching, maybe up to Whistler, look for some black bears and do some outdoor activities. So a bit of time there. Then you get the train over to the Rockies, so to Banff or Jasper. Bit of time in and around the Rockies, and then fly back from there. So the train is often in the middle, and because you want to see and do as much as you can while you're over there, you can be quite busy doing different experiences. So it's quite a nice break, and because it goes at quite a leisurely pace, because it does kind of go that little bit slower than some of the other trains that kind of hurtle through, it means that you can kind of take everything in, look out for wildlife. So it's quite a nice relaxing way. You don't have to lift a finger. Nice. I mentioned you have a hotel as the overnight. Your luggage actually goes separately. It goes by coach. So when you get to Kamloops or Quesnel, you get your room key on board the train. As soon as you get to the station, you get a welcome with some of the locals. You get on board the coach, takes you straight to your hotel. You go straight to your room, no need to check in. Brilliant. Your luggage is in your room already, which works well. And then the next morning, you have to leave your luggage and your room key in the room and just jump on the coach. Feels a bit strange.
Yeah, you can imagine just leave your suitcase behind.
Yeah, you're not really used to doing that, but it works like clockwork. So that's one of the great highlights.
And so sticking with the West Coast for the time being, because I was lucky enough to go on a trip with you guys over to the East Coast, which obviously we'll come on to, but just on the West Coast, so obviously you said that the train sort of fits in the middle of that itinerary. What's a good duration of time to be away for on the BC side? So if you was just solely going to do the British Columbia side of Canada, obviously it's 11-12 hour flight. how long realistically to do it comfortably. And as you said, it's a
Yeah.
long way to go. You don't want to go all that way and feel like you've missed something out, but you also want to take your time, enjoy it, and take it
Yeah,
away. So
exactly.
what's a good length of time for that trip?
2.5 weeks is quite a good length of time to do a bit of Vancouver Island, Rocky Mountaineer, spend a good bit of time in the Rockies,
Yeah.
and then kind of head back.
Right.
If you've got less time, you can do it,
Yeah.
but as I mentioned before, just make sure you do less rather than trying to
Right,
cram it all in.
Absolutely.
And you can spend a lot longer if need be. You've got
Yeah.
places like the Okanagan, the wine producing region,
Yeah.
Sunshine Coast, you've got Grizzly Bear viewing opportunities, places like Night Inlet where you can spend quite a bit longer as well.
Yeah.
So you've got a lot of other, if you want to spend longer, there's countless options.
Yeah.
And even though a lot of people think of it as that one-off, it's got a really high repeat visitor ratio.
Yeah.
You can go back countless times to
absolutely.
the same rough, loose area and still experience
Yeah.
new
And
things.
we're not going to go into too much detail on it, but I know also as well, you've mentioned obviously Alaska.
Yeah,
Alaska cruising twins quite well into and out of Vancouver.
Yeah.
And then obviously, so if people have got longer, then you
Yeah.
guys can also help with that. Obviously, we
Yeah.
can help with that, but you can also tag on sort of like a 7-ish night
yeah,
cruise up into Alaska and then back down into Vancouver and then carry on with that itinerary.
yeah.
And that works quite well as well.
Yeah, really well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like you said, there's a lot of cruise lines that spend time in Alaska.
Yeah.
A lot of the popular ones, I guess for both of us, it's a round trip from Vancouver, or even one way, 7 nights.
Yeah.
So it ties in quite nicely with an itinerary.
Absolutely.
If you've got customers that want to see Alaska in more detail, the smaller ship cruising options, more
Yes.
expedition kind of
Yeah.
vessels,
Yeah.
where you get within touching distance of glaciers, you get
Yeah, of
First
course.
Nation leaders on board, you get a different kind of experience.
And I bet the scenery up there is incredible. As
It's,
well.
yeah, it's
I can
incredible.
imagine.
And then, so Alaska, as I mentioned, is the American state.
Yes, yeah.
The Yukon is kind of the
Yeah,
Canadian version. They've got a similar kind of experience. A lot of the gold rush happened up there.
Yep.
So you've got a bit of a frontier kind of feel about
Absolutely,
it. You've
yeah.
got these saloons and some real characters.
And it's really good.
Really
Yeah.
brilliant place. And Canadians in general, they're some of the friendliest people you can imagine.
Oh, for sure.
I
can
but
vouch
when
for
you
that.
get up to somewhere like the Yukon and over on the west, over on the east, places like Atlantic and Nova Scotia, again, the people just couldn't do enough for
Yeah,
them. They're
for sure.
brilliant.
Well, so as I said, I mean, just moving over onto the East Coast, so I was lucky
Yeah.
enough to be on a fam trip with you back end of, I can't remember if it was last year or the year before.
Yeah.
I've lost track of
Yeah, I
time.
don't get.
So I was lucky enough to, so it was Ontario, so I was lucky enough to do
Fantastic.
the Toronto twinned with Ottawa, which
Yeah.
I loved it.
Yeah.
I mean, British Columbia is 100% on my list of places to go,
Yeah.
but that eastern part of Canada is fantastic. I mean,
Yeah.
can you just tell us a little bit more about sort of the key points, where you could twin what cities with what,
Yeah.
etc.?
Yeah, so on the east, you've got probably 2 main areas over on the east.
Yep.
You've got Ontario and Quebec, which are neighbouring states, which are provinces which are both huge.
Yep.
I mentioned the size of Quebec
Yeah,
before.
massive.
Ontario's over 1 million square kilometres, they're big old places. But you've got some really nice cities, so you've mentioned a couple there. And they've got very different styles.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
you've also got a really good rail network that connects these cities. The area is known as the Corridor region. So Toronto is the biggest city in Canada, so you've got lots of character, very shiny, modern.
Yeah.
CN Tower dominates the skyline. You've got Niagara Falls, a couple of hours away. Great as a day trip. The scale of the falls is
Oh,
just
it's incredible.
yeah, absolutely incredible.
Yeah. I mean, we did a whole day, and we actually
Yeah.
experienced the falls. I think every way. So it was a day trip, but we did the boat tour up to the falls,
Yeah.
which was
Yeah.
fantastic. Then we did the walk behind the falls.
Yeah, the
which
journey behind
was
the falls,
unreal.
yeah,
And then
yeah.
we were lucky enough because it was a clear day. We did the helicopter over the falls as
Fantastic.
well, which
Yeah.
is just mind blowing. I mean, some of the
Yeah.
scenery is unreal.
But it's the scale of it, isn't it?
Yeah.
You can't
Yeah.
comprehend the scale, and the noise of it is just out of this world. Definitely do that from a personal point of view. I'd do it as a day trip.
Yeah.
There are lots of hotels in Niagara Falls.
Yeah, we've got Niagara on the Lake as well. Which
Yeah.
I know if people wanted to stay for longer, Niagara on the Lake actually is a lovely little place
Yeah.
to stay just down.
Yeah, really nice little spots, some really nice vineyards around there. You don't think of Canada as being a wine-producing country, but the Okanagan in the west, Okanagan, and then Niagara on the Lake in particular.
Famous for ice wine. I tried ice wine.
Yeah.
Lovely.
Did you like it?
Well, it's very, very sweet.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of it, but if you do like
It's
dessert
a
wine,
bit, as I say, it's a dessert wine, essentially,
Yeah,
isn't it?
yeah,
But
it
it's
is, yeah.
fascinating. It's
Yeah.
how they do it as well, how they make that.
oh, it's incredible, yeah. And they're so proud of it as well when
Yeah.
they talk about
Yeah,
the
for
history
sure.
of it, yeah. So yeah, Toronto and Niagara. You can then get the rail up to Ottawa.
Which is what we did.
So yeah, perfect.
And I think it's about 3.5, 4
That's
hours.
right. Yeah, yeah.
So comfortable. And again,
Really good
similar
service.
to the Rocky Mountaineer. Obviously, it's not on the same scale, but
Yeah.
it was very comfortable. I think we travelled in the business class.
Yeah.
But you get your sort of lunch on board if you like, and
That's
there's snacks
right.
and drinks, and it was fantastic. And,
Yeah.
and I would be very happy to recommend that to clients because I loved it. I thought it was fantastic.
It's really good value as well. Great way to get between them. Ottawa is the capital of Canada, but it's much, much smaller than Toronto. But it's just got loads of character, isn't it?
It was my favourite.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
loved it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm more of an open, spacey kind of person, and as you said,
Yeah.
although it's the capital, to me it just felt a little bit lower rise, a little bit more spacious in terms of
Yeah.
being able to walk around. And one thing that I can highly recommend as well, which I was probably my highlight, was the food tour around Ottawa.
Yes.
It's just fantastic, and I can't remember the lady's name, but it was just brilliant.
Yeah.
And that was really cool.
Yeah, I think in general the food in Canada, because it's a real melting pot of cultures from around the world, it's really had a reputation for the last maybe 10, 15 years as being a bit of a foodie place.
Yeah.
Lots of craft beers as well, craft breweries. So you've got, and the produce over there is just incredible. Locally sourced. It's phenomenal. Yeah. So Ottawa's a really nice little place, lots of character, as you said.
I really want to go back to Ottawa because you've got the Rideau Canal.
Yes.
And I want to go there when it's frozen because,
Yeah.
because people get to between the university campuses on it by ice skating.
Yeah.
And we was there, it wasn't frozen when we were there, so we didn't get to. But I would love to go back just purely to ice skate on the Rideau Canal.
It's the Guinness World of Records.
Brilliant.
It's the longest ice rink in the world.
It's incredible.
Yeah. But they set up stands. Did you have it's like a local donut delicacy called Beaver Tails over there?
Yes, highly recommend one of those.
Well, they have beaver tail stands on the
Really?
ice
Okay.
in the winter. It's just incredible.
It is really cool.
And I guess one other thing to mention with Canada, a lot of people think of Canada as being a cold place.
Yeah.
In the winter, with the odd exception, it is extremely cold.
Yeah.
Minus 30 and even colder. In the summer, they're a good few degrees warmer than us and a good deal sunnier. So really, really nice in the summer months as well.
One thing that I found really fascinating, and it was actually a really funny story, and I can't remember the exact details of it, but I think it's the second biggest place for the tulips. So people go over to Amsterdam, or wherever I can't remember, it's not Amsterdam, but people go. But it's the second biggest place for tulips because it's got the right climate, and they are sent a lot of tulips every year because of something to do with a princess being born.
That's right. Yeah.
In one of the provinces, and they made it Dutch soil or something. I just can't remember it, but it was a
fantastic
story.
Yeah, because we did I did a tour of the Parliament building.
Yeah, that's what we did. Yeah, and that's where we found out. But I can't believe that. I can't even believe that because nobody knows about it. But
big tulip festivals. They do, and they do winter festivals. They embrace everything.
Yeah.
They make the most out of every opportunity. And even though their history isn't as old as I guess what we used to over here in Europe, because it's only a few generations ago, you kind of are a bit more in touch with it.
Yeah.
So the whole hotels over in Canada, again, we've got countless choice depending what you're looking for. But one of the most famous chains over there is the Fairmont hotel chain.
I was lucky enough to stay.
So wonderful, So Fairmont now, they're a worldwide luxury hotel chain. They own the Savoy Hotel, for example. In Canada, most of them were the Canadian Pacific chain of hotels that were built over 100 years ago when they were building the railways right across Canada. So as well as being nice luxury hotels, they're often attractions, they're landmarks.
Perfect positions, right.
The town is developed around them.
Yeah, absolutely.
I made the mistake in Ottawa. We did, I've done like a ghost tour over there, and I was joking about our hotel, but it is supposedly the most haunted hotel in Canada.
I didn't know
the general manager of the Fairmont there, he'd come back to the UK to get the furnishings and everything to stock up to take back. Unfortunately, it was on board the Titanic, so he never made it.
I did hear that.
So that's allegedly why it's the most haunted. But you've got the Banff Springs in Banff, which is like a baronial Scottish castle. Moving on a bit further, so I mentioned Ontario. You can then head further up into Quebec. So Quebec is the province, and this is the area with the really strong French influence.
Right.
Officially, they speak English and French in Canada. In reality, it's only in Quebec where they actively speak French.
Right.
But it's got a very different atmosphere about it. French Canadians just have a different kind of way about going about the business, really. So the big cities in Quebec, you've got Montreal, which is the big city.
Right.
It's the second largest French-speaking city in the world.
Okay.
I love Montreal. It's got a reputation as being a bit of a party place. It gained that during the Prohibition era in the States when everyone kind of headed up, and
Yeah.
you've got lots of these hidden speakeasies where you can go. It's not quite as shiny as somewhere like Toronto,
Right, okay.
but you need to spend a bit of time there and get under its skin.
And you kind of get the feel for it.
Yeah, you get the feel for it. Really nice place. And then a little bit further north, a bit like Ottawa compared to Toronto, you have Quebec City, which is the only fortified city in North America.
Okay.
So you've got the wall that surrounds the old part of town. The Fairmont there, the Chateau Frontenac, is supposedly the most photographed hotel in North America, built like a French chateau.
Right.
Just gorgeous
Nice.
building. And even though it's a lot smaller, just lots of character, cobbled streets and boutique-style shops. So those are the main cities over in that part.
Yep.
And then once you head outside, you've got gorgeous countryside and national parks.
Absolutely. Yeah.
There's a big selection of resorts or lodges. Over in the west, you've got guest ranches. So as well as the big cities, you want to head out and experience the beauty.
Canadians are very big for outdoors lifestyle,
Yeah.
aren't they? Really, very much like the northern states in North America. It's
Yes.
very much an outdoors mentality.
Yeah, without a doubt. You've got a lot of people that have got kind of lakeland
Yeah.
properties that will go in the summer months.
Yes, for sure.
And it's the ultimate outdoor playground.
Yeah.
If you want to do just relaxing, sit by the edge of the lake, watch the world go by and read a book,
Yeah.
brilliant. If you want to go kayaking, wildlife viewing, mountain biking, quad biking,
Yeah.
golf, you've got all these
All
kind
of
of
it.
activities. So it's a phenomenal place to spend a bit of time.
And one question we do get asked a lot, and I know we have our stock answer, but it'd be interesting to see what your take is on this. You started the conversation by saying that try not to bring in too much or take in too much in the same holiday. A lot of people come to us and say, well, we want to start over on the eastern side of Canada, and we do something like Toronto, for example, and then hightail it over to British Columbia side and carry on. Just interesting. Do you actually recommend doing them as separate holidays? Do you recommend tying them in together? How does that work?
Yeah, ideally we would recommend do it as a separate holiday to do them both properly. The one thing that you can do fairly easily is do predominantly a trip over to the west, so the Rockies and Vancouver as the main focus. But especially with Niagara Falls in particular, it's often one of those trips that people want to at least visit because you're flying back in that direction. It's relatively easy. On the way back, spend 2 or 3 nights in Toronto, do a Niagara Falls day trip, and then head back.
Fine. Yeah.
I wouldn't ideally recommend then doing Ottawa and Montreal. If you've got the time to do
it's a
it.
holiday in itself.
It is,
and
it is.
We always say to do them separately, and actually to have experienced Ontario firsthand. I still don't even. I was only there for 5 nights, but I still didn't even get to do just Ontario. Forget the rest of the eastern side of
you
Canada.
can spend
So you
again.
can spend
The scale
months.
of it is months and months. But with a lot of it, it's making sure you don't miss any of the real highlights. And as well as doing it as a much bigger trip, you can also do it as a standalone city break.
Yeah.
I'm just going for 3 nights just to Toronto in the summer.
Well, the flight time over. I was just about to say actually, the flight time over to the east coast of Canada actually is only about
7 hours. The closest point to us in Atlantic Canada, St John's, is about 5.5 hours.
Right.
So St John's in Newfoundland is closer to us than it is to Vancouver.
Right.
Which again gives you an
And
idea of the
realistically,
scale.
5.5, 6 hours, even 7 hours. I mean, to travel, for example, to like the Canaries, you're looking at 4.5 hours just for a beach holiday down there. So actually, it is very accessible.
It
Eastern
is.
side of Canada is
Yeah,
very
it is.
accessible.
And I guess places like New York, people do regular city breaks.
Yeah, for sure.
So we're certainly finding Toronto is becoming more popular for that kind of experience.
And Toronto is a fantastic city as well. I loved it. And again, we did it, and it was very cold. And actually, unfortunately, it was wet when we were there. But again, it's a very accessible city. You can actually walk around a lot of it. Very safe. For the most part, it's a very safe city.
Yeah, very safe. Yeah.
But all of them. I think, as I said, Eastern Canada is definitely a holiday on its own. Forget about the Western side.
Without a doubt.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, and then connections-wise, in terms of just the airlines that you guys partner with, and how accessible is it in terms of the airlines and the options?
Yeah, we use any airline that we can fly over there.
Yep.
So Air Canada being the main scheduled airline, British Airways have a number of routes, and then there are what you generally consider as lower cost airlines, companies like WestJet and Air Transat, who offer increasing connectivity. I guess you'll know more than us. Airlines nowadays, the way their business model works, they've all got kind of fluid pricing.
Yes.
So it's a matter of whatever works best for that particular route.
Yeah, and also different airlines do different classes. So, for example, I was lucky enough to fly business class with British Airways, for example.
Fantastic.
But then obviously I know that Air Canada also have a business class, but different things will suit different price points.
Exactly.
And again, that's where we work closely with you, but you're not just, you can do the real lovely 5-star luxury hotels like the Fairmont as you mentioned, but we can also do something much more affordable. We can completely tailor it to how the client wants to travel in terms of their budget, in terms of the level of accommodation they stay in, and how they travel.
And it, for me, it's a big part of it. It's getting the best value, first of all, for the money that you're spending. And with the first-hand knowledge, we can recommend where it is worth spending a bit more and where you can save a little bit more.
Absolutely. So and something like Goldleaf, for example, the Rocky Mountains, absolutely worth the investment. And then something like staying for a couple of nights in a city hotel where you're going to be out most of the day exploring. Some clients are quite happy to be something more clean and comfortable, relatively well located.
In a good location,
as opposed to then spend the money and splash out on a good experience where you are going to see fantastic scenery on the train. For example.
Exactly. And it's getting the balance, and it's also getting the best value for the time that you're spending. So it's making sure that you're not coming back and wondering why you spent 4 nights in a place where there wasn't really much to do, and that's where we can work in together.
A lot of your team have travelled out there and experienced it firsthand.
We worked out between myself and our Canada team. We've been over to Canada, I think, about 250 times. So rather than just kind of reading it from a book, we've been there, we've experienced it. And it makes such a big difference with those kind of trips.
Well, I was lucky enough to go away with Denise, and I mean, she lives and breathes Canada.
Oh, she's Mrs. Canada. She's Mrs. Canada,
for sure.
But just, it's the kind of place as well that when you are selling it and you're travelling there quite a bit, it gets under your skin. And again, Denise is a prime example. Just so passionate about the place.
Sure.
But it is one of those places, and again, a lot of people will be thinking of it as that once in a lifetime. It's got one of the highest number of repeat visitors because you do only just skim the surface and you get a bit more of a flavour and you get to go
back. As you said, it gets under your skin, doesn't it? And once you've been once, you just want to go back and see more and experience more. And it's just one of those places, I think. I've definitely got a soft spot for it, for sure. It
is stunning. And I think often customers, it's getting to the starting point, and because there are so many options, it's an easy place to put it off for now. Again, even if you're just thinking about maybe heading over there, come and see Mark and the guys, get an appointment, and even if you're not going for maybe until next year, the year after, at least if we can put together an initial itinerary, it starts making sense.
Absolutely.
And then you can see what the kind of price is for what you're looking to do, but also how it fits together. And then actually that probably doesn't give us enough time there, maybe add a bit longer. And we're all about fine-tuning it.
Tailor making it and different iterations and going back and forth until it's perfect.
Exactly.
Which is, that's our ethos, and we know that that's your ethos as well, which is why we work so closely with you.
Exactly.
Brilliant. Okay, so final question. Favourite part of Canada for you? Where would you go to? If I said you can go to Canada tomorrow for a holiday, where would you go?
It probably would be out west, really. Vancouver as a city, as I mentioned, my favourite city in the world. I've got an 11-year-old, so I'm taking him to Toronto in the summer, but I know he would love over Vancouver as a city, places like Grouse Mountain, Granville Island, over to Vancouver Island, do some whale watching, up to Whistler, which for families in particular is brilliant, a pedestrianised little village, all kinds of outdoor activities. But again, in terms of memories, I've seen the polar bears in Churchill, so you get to do things that are literally the most memorable experiences you can ever do.
For sure. I mean, I definitely want to go over to the BC side for sure. But it's on my list.
We'll try to get
absolutely. Well, thank you very much, and I think that's a really great insight into Canada, a bit of an overview, and obviously, clients will come and have a chat with us, and they know that we'll come and have a chat with you guys. But I appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.